I was looking for the perfect recipe for a New Year's party, and here it is. The barbecue meat pie, aka Maqluba.
Big thanks to Kamado Joe for sponsoring this episode.
In a quest to find a perfect party recipe for this New Year's Eve party, I stumbled upon Maqluba, which is a traditional dish from the Middle East, with layers upon layers of meat, vegetable, rice, all stacked up in a pan and then flipped upside down to present it as a pie. The idea of making something ahead of time that fits in one pot and the surprise effect of lifting up the pan inspired me to make a barbecue version of this Middle Eastern recipe. I got these two beautiful locally grown chickens, full of fat and meat and a beautiful skin. Break them down into technical sections like the leg, the wings and the breast. And once I clean them up, I've got beautiful barbecue meat as well as the most important ingredient for the next part of this recipe. Now normally this would be waste. We got all that beautiful meat ready for the barbecue, but with this recipe we're going to be needing chicken broth. And why not make your own using these beautiful carcasses? So let's fire up the Big Joe and get started. I'm going to put in some charcoal, a couple of fire starters and light it up. Once it's lit, I'm going to put in the grill grates, load up the chicken carcasses and set it to smoke at a temperature of around 140 degrees Celsius. While we wait for the chicken to be smoked and roasted, we're going to prepare the rest of the ingredients, which is the ingredients for meat pie. And as you can see, I have some white onions and some red onions, a beautiful winter carrot, and for me a very important ingredient is celery. It just gives the chicken broth so much flavor. I'm gonna set up my burner, put on a large pot, drizzle in a little bit of olive oil, onions, carrots, celery, 2 bay leaves, 5 peppercorns, a clove of garlic, the roasted chicken carcasses, 3 liters or 12 cups of water. Of course I can't forget about the thyme. And now I'm gonna let this simmer for 4 to 6 hours. And then all you need to do is strain it off and you end it up with a beautiful clear chicken broth. And of course if you want to and you have a little bit of a cold like I do, sprinkle in a little bit of salt, some celery leaves and you got yourself a very powerful medicine. Well, let's get back to this beautiful chicken meat. We got breasts, we got legs, we got wings. What are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to season it. I'm going to take 8 tablespoons of the PitmasterX chicken seasoning. I'm going to add a cup of sunflower oil. I'm going to mix that up, pour it all over our beautiful pieces of chicken and then rub it in real good. And once they're all coated up, I'm going to put them in the fridge so they can marinate overnight. And with that out of the way, we're going to fire up the Kamado Joe Big Joe once again because it's time to get serious about cooking. A couple of fire starters and then light them up. While I wait for the charcoal to be lit up, I'm going to chop fine some veggies. Yes, we gotta have some. It's part of the traditional dish, so I'm gonna cut up some bell peppers and some onions because I think it's very fitting to barbecue as well as the traditional dish. Now I just gotta peel and slice some onions. In the meantime, my grill became nice and hot, so I'm gonna put on my Scotsburg pan, let it come up to temperature, and then I'm going to stir fry my bell peppers and onions until they're soft and sweet. Now that the onions and bell peppers are nice and soft, I'm going to take them off. I'm going to grill the marinated chicken, and I got the fire a little lower now than I had when I was frying in my pan because the chicken burns very easily. You want to take it a little slower, and all you need to do is just close down that bottom vent. Make sure you don't have any more air draft. There we go. Wow, this is gonna be so good. I'm gonna close the lid. And while we wait for the chicken to be grilled anyway, we might as well get out our pan. This is my Scotsburg cast iron pan. It's a heavy pan, but the nice thing about it is that it spreads its heat evenly. Now, we need to do some preparation to make sure that nothing sticks to it. First, I'm gonna put in a little bit of sunflower oil. Then I'm gonna cut some baking paper so it fits the bottom of this pan. Of course I got a little trick to do that. Place a sheet of baking paper in the pan and then you got a nice protective layer between the food and the pan. Now we can go back to the star of the show, the chicken of course. It's almost all the way grilled, looking really good and delicious. And it's now ready to come off the barbecue. Now, it's not fully cooked all the way through yet, but it doesn't matter because there's another cooking process coming And that will take care of that. All we need now is loads and loads of flavor on the outside of this chicken. So the first job to do now is to take the thickest part of the chicken that normally would take the longest to cook and place that on the bottom. It's going to be the star of the show, so make sure you take the best pieces. And we're going to fill that up on the sides with some bell peppers and some onions. And of course some rice. Time for another layer of chicken. This one is going to be more, followed by more onions and bell peppers, more chicken, and yes, more rice. And as you can already see, this is going to be one big meal. Now, in the end, don't put too much rice on, because that rice is going to take up all of the moisture and it's going to rise up if you get too much rice. Now this is where the chicken broth comes back into play, and you want to make sure you got it well seasoned with salt. Pour the chicken broth in, and when the rice is fully submerged, you know you have enough chicken broth. The lid goes on, and this now goes into the Kamado Joe Big Joe, where it's going to boil slowly until the rice is done. I selected this bowl, and honestly, I'm a bit scared, because now is the moment that we're going to flip this dish. Now, is this large enough? Honestly, I don't know. Here's my pan. Now while cooking this, I discovered that it doesn't cook in 10 minutes like with normal rice. You gotta take a little time. It's going to slowly come up to temperature because of its sheer mass. And that means that we'll probably had a cooking time of 20 to 25 minutes in total. And after that, I also let it rest for another 20 minutes. So the rice becomes a little bit more fluffy and gets the time to soak up all of the moisture. The pan cooled down a little bit on the outside, which is a nice bonus, because that means I can handle it safely. Oh, look at it. Wow, that just looks so good. Oh, so far, no moisture is streaming out. I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit. Oh, whoa, oh, no! All right, the giant pie is falling apart on me, but not all is lost, because this smells freaking amazing. And look at it, it's just fall apart tender. I got a little bit in my pan, but somehow that paper that I put at the bottom just slid aside a little bit. But it's a good thing we had it there, because now this is screaming hot, but because take a look at this chicken leg. You see the skin is a little bit on the dark side. Yeah, but honestly, this is so freaking cool. Look at that chicken. It's just fall apart tender. Just, oh, the bones fall off. It's so extremely juicy. Oh, wow, that is so amazing. This is so good. Honestly, I made a bit of a mess, and probably there's loads of people that can do this better without screwing up everything. This is a lot of fun. You should try this, definitely for the New Year's party. And then take it, well, slow. Flavor-wise, a 10. Presentation, maybe a 3. Oh.